Hey everyone, it's Travis speaking. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than what we usually cover. Typically we cover more workflows and tips and tricks and how to do things in Revit. I'm going to be doing some things in Revit today, but I'm actually going to be shifting gears. We're going to have a little bit longer video, and what we're going to be addressing is basically why go BIM, and in particular why go Revit. I guess one of the things that I'm coming up against often enough in my meetings lately is why go BIM? Why would I need Revit? Why do I need all this extra tools and to pay more for an application when really all I need is 2D drawings? Well, today we're going to go over some of the reasons on why to go BIM. And the first thing that I'm going to get into is if you're only doing a 2D operation, then why go BIM? Well, because essentially it's just that much easier in Revit. So we're just going to do some simple 2D tasks, and to start that off, I'm going to open up a new project, and I'm just going to go to the wall tool. I'm not going to set up any levels or anything at all really. I'm on level 1, I'm in a plan view, and I know that my scale here is 1/8 of an inch. So let's start drawing. So when I start the wall tool, I can pick some different walls here, and I've got some different options. I'm going to go with this exterior CMU insulated, and I'm going to change the height to level 2, and I'm just going to leave my wall center line as the location line. So you'll notice that I'm in a pretty simple, straightforward drawing environment, and when I start drawing, just by clicking that left mouse button, I'm already getting some dynamic input options here. So if I wanted to, I could type in 18 here, and I get an 18-foot wall. I didn't have to type in any units. I just started getting what I wanted. So if I type in 12 here now, and I want this to be, say, 12'6", then I'll type in a comma and a 6 after, and I'm going to get my 12'6" wall. So I'm just drawing simple lines here. You're seeing that I'm getting a wall makeup. The detail level isn't too heavy because I only have the coarse detail option on here. But if I wanted to see more, I can start seeing more. I'm starting to see the wall assembly created here. So if I want to pick up where I left off, I'm just going to select the wall here and say create similar, and grab that last point, and I'm back to drafting again. So maybe this needs to be 24'8", and I'll just draw that in, and now I can bring this line back up, and I know that it's in line because I'm getting these temporary dimensions that are essentially giving me a hand with my drafting. Okay, so if that's all I need for a building envelope, maybe that needs to be a little bit more. I can just simply drag that out, or I could give it some dimensional input like 46, and it changes the whole thing. If I want, I can simply move this and center it down into my elevations so that I'm going to get a nice setup for these elevations when I go to them. So now you'll notice if I put in some more partitions here, I'm just going to go back to my wall tools, and I'm going to grab some interior walls now. So I can place those just kind of haphazardly for the time being. And notice that I'm getting some help from Revit. It's saying, well, if you start that here, it'll be connected to this wall by 21 feet or what have you. So then you can use that input to basically start giving plan some shape. So instead of 21, maybe I want 16 feet, and it places that wall for me accordingly. Now, the other thing to mention is when I go into these walls, this inside wall, when I was drawing it, I didn't realize that my exterior walls were actually drawn incorrectly. But that's kind of good for this demonstration, because if I need that drywall on the inside, all I have to do is simply select the exterior, and I'm going to hit the space bar, and it's going to toggle the orientation of the wall to the correct orientation. And now you can see that that drywall layer actually terminates properly, and the structure of the interior wall goes right to the structure of the exterior. There's no trimming involved, it just automatically recognizes it. And so the same thing applies when I put in a door. So if I want to grab an exterior door, I'll just simply load up a new family, and I'll go find an appropriate door. Oh yes. So another great thing about 2016 is we got some great new door families in here as well. So just something for you to consider. There we go, here's a nice exterior door. It gives me some different sizes, so if I want to select a number of those, I can. And I'll hit OK. And now I have a number of these exterior doors that I can use. And you'll notice that I can't place the door anywhere but a wall. It's a hosted element. So just by coming in here, if you'll notice that it gives me a nice centered dimension. So that's kind of handy as well. And if I don't like the position of these doors, it's easy enough to just rotate them quite quickly. So you can see that there's these toggles associated to the door family, which is kind of nice. And if I wanted to add some windows, it's really helpful to have these dimensional constraints in there, because then you can place them just kind of haphazardly at the outset and then use an align dimension tool to give them an equal spacing. So I'm just grabbing the dimension tool and I'm going wall to wall here into the center line of each one of these, and then when I click on this equal toggle, these are all spaced out accordingly. So this is pretty decent for just a 2D plan, just to come together quite quickly. But you can also check your work quite easily by just toggling that 3D view. So after you've spent a couple of minutes developing a concept or an outline, you can come up to this house icon and check your work. So anything that you do here in 3D or in 2D is going to modify in each level. So this is what we call bidirectional associativity. So again, if I take this door here now and I multiply that by 2, I can put in formulas. So we'll say equal 2 times 4 feet. You can see how parameters can really impact your speed. You can leverage these quite powerfully. So in a nutshell, that's let me just go to my tile views here, and you can see that this is actually really interesting to see this. If you want to see it in 2 views at once, you can actually watch these things change. So if I was to change that back to 12, you're seeing it update live here. So you're never going to really miss a design change relative to your views, because if you move a door or window, say, in elevation, it is going to move in the model as well. So that's kind of like a fail-safe, essentially. So we've taken a look at some dimensional constraints and how quickly you can get a floor plan and how quickly you can get a nice 3D view here to represent that a little bit better. There's also some quick visualization things that you can do as well, like add shadows or change the graphic display options, say, to a more shaded view. And if you're just in a concept mode, you can still just quickly paint walls. If you wanted to just make some quick changes, say, not really get into what the makeup of this wall is, but change its look a little bit, you could do that quite quickly here with these different tools. So say if I wanted to have a steel chrome plated wall, I can quickly do that. Now I'm just going to close down this project for the time being and open up one that's a little bit more developed. So I'll say open, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and we've got this modern hotel final RVT file here. And something that I remembered from the CAD days being quite quite time consuming was creating a building section. So as you can see, there's already a building section here drawn in. And so if we click on that tag, it takes us to that section view. We can quickly toggle off the crop region, so we're just getting a nice representation of the building here. We can again change our detail level, so we'll start to see the makeup of these walls. And we could change it to shaded again, as we've done before, to start seeing a little bit more articulation in the view. Okay, so again, if I go back to this floor plan and I don't like where this section is and I need to investigate the model a little bit more, I can take the section, I can click it the other way just by simply toggling it, or I can create a new one just by coming up to view, I hit the section tool, and I can just take one, say, right through here. Right? And now that that's created, I can double click on that and open up this view, and that's pretty powerful visually to get started with your detailing. So if you wanted to create a second floor detail, say at this balcony level, you can come into the call out tool now and simply place a call out around that location. When you select the call out itself, you can start to rotate these. Oh, just grab the right node here. So I'll place it out there and then just add the elbow. Right, if I want to get really finicky about that, I can do that. But now I have a new view just by that one command. And again, I've got coarse detail on these views, but now if I go to the sections in my project browser, there should be a detail in there called callout, or section 5 callout, and now you're seeing the detail that I've just created from that one command. So this gives me a good starting point. If I want, again, I can turn on shaded to give me an idea as to what I'm looking at. So I'm starting to see some more articulation in this view. And it's quite simple. Now, because of the cut lines, I turned on my thin, thick lines. I can see that this column is in elevation, and here are the items that I'm actually cutting through. So if this floor was a composite deck, or if I had a beam going from this column to the next, you can go up to your annotation tools now and grab the components. And so from within here, you can quickly start adding detail data from the detail items family folder. So if I say concrete and say structural concrete beam, and now I can change that up after the fact. It's just an annotative element. So if I want maybe this concrete beam has to be something a little bit different, I'd say edit type, duplicate, and now I would make it 8 by 12. And so the width now, change that to 8, hit OK, and I'm starting to get this detail figured out quite quickly. So we're seeing a workflow between BIM or parametric elements and 2D elements that all happens quite quickly, and it increases productivity. So yes, your part of the workflow might only be a 2D schematic floor plan. However, if you start to put it together and the project does move forward, then you're already that much closer and your working drawings are already that much more developed. So as far as publishing documents goes, let's take a look at laying these out on some sheets. So we've already got a number of sheets in here. If I right click on sheets and say new sheet, I can load in a new title block, or I'll just stay with this D size here and say OK. And it's added the sheet name to it because it's going to be the last one to be created. And right now it's really not part of this browser organization or this sheet list. So I could really call this whatever I want. and you'll see that it modifies in the title block itself. And I'm just going to start placing some views on this sheet. Now, if this floor 1 has been placed on another sheet already, it says the view is already placed on sheet A2.2. So that keeps things organized. It's intelligent enough to know that, hey, you can't do that. So now I can go to 2.2 and take a look. There it is. And I can take it off quite simply. It doesn't remove that drawing from the project. It's just a referenced view. So now when I go back to my new sheet, I'll be able to take that sheet now and just place it on this view. And it's in the scale of the view itself. If I need to make any changes, I can access that view's control parameters quite quickly by just double clicking inside. And if I want to change that scale now to a 1/4 inch or say a 1/16, then I have that option quite quickly at my fingertips. And you'll notice that the annotations are relative to the scale, and I don't have to make any changes really to the annotation, the text size, the dimension size. It all stays really nice. And now you'll see as well that these are already populated. These here, if I was to take this view off of another sheet and put it onto a new sheet like what I've just done, we would see 1 or 2 A8.2. So let's see if we can't take that section detail we created and place it. We have a new section that we could place on here. So let me just find that in the browser. So that would be section 5. And if I drag that over, there it is. So I'm just going to place it outside of the title block for the time being and double click, and now I can change that to say a 16, and it'll fit on the view or on that sheet. And if it doesn't, you know, there's things that you can do to resize these as well. Like I could shift this around and I guess place this over top, and then by selecting just the view title here, I can modify so we're not actually having any overlap. Okay, so we put that call out in, and that hasn't been placed yet. So what happens if we place that call out, right? I might want to change that to a detail, so it creates a new category in my project browser, and now I'll just drop that over in the side. And if we go back to that referencing view, you'll see that that's the 3rd view placed on this new 8.2 sheet. So again, that's a big thing once your drawing set starts to get up to, well, we all know how big some of these drawing sets can get. So that's a really handy tool. So some of the other things are, say, documentation challenges, like schedules. So if we expand schedules here, let's just take a look at that now. I've got a door schedule 1st floor. And we can see that the mark, these are all 100s. If we wanted to create a new door schedule for, say, the 2nd floor, you can do that quite quickly. I'll just show you how. We'll say new schedule here by right-clicking. I'll go down to doors. And then we can start putting in the various fields, the data that you would need. So we could put in comment. So we'll use that to organize this. We could say the family and type. We can talk to heights. So there's dimensional parameters that we can add. So there's a lot of information that you can add here. Let's just grab a couple of the things here. We got height. We get width. Okay, so I'm just picking from a whole bunch that we have here. You could add these if this was phase created, phase demolished, if your project is going over a number of phases. So once you have the data in there that you need, you can, I'm just going to add one more here, count, and we'll say OK. And so now I've got a door schedule. Now this isn't exclusive to the second floor. This is all the doors in the project. But knowing that I'm just targeting the second floor doors, I'll go to the floor plan for the second floor and select one. I can say, oh no, there's actually an easier way to do this. I can just make a selection around everything. Go to the filter and say check none. And now I'll select just the doors. That's all I really want. So when I say OK, I've just got door data selected. So now in the identity data, you can go to comments and actually just type in whatever you want. So you can say second level. And now in the new door schedule that we've created, we should be able to parse that data relative to the doors that we've labeled. So if I said filter, I want to filter or sort by, we'll filter comments equals, I think it was second level. Okay, and now you're seeing that I've eliminated all the other door data except that which I'd like to see. So that's kind of just a quick illustration of some of the ways that you can leverage data from your model, interrogate your work. You know, if you've got that data, do you want to go around and count manually? You could select an instance and do that, but you might not get everything. So if you filter select all doors by category, you're able to apply certain information to it that you can use down the road for other commands, essentially. So there's one other thing that I'd kind of like to show here, I guess, is the workflow between AutoCAD and Revit, because a lot of people, they don't want to just dive right into the deep end. They have their CAD workflow and it works for them, but you can't just abandon what's been working for you altogether with a new technology. So I think everybody at Autodesk realizes that, and what they want to see is people combining AutoCAD with Revit and, you know, getting a better utilization of their entire design suite. So this is this workflow. I'm just going to collapse these so I can see the entire project here. I'm just going to grab maybe that sheet. Okay, so I'm going to come up to my application menu here and go to export, and I'm going to go to CAD formats now and click on DWG. It's not letting me right now because I'm in a schedule. So if this is the sheet that I'm looking to export, I'll click on export now, and under CAD formats I have the option of going to DWG. So if you click in this button right here, this talks to how the DWG is going to get set up once you actually complete your export. So you have categories for various building elements in Revit, various annotations, and this is what they're going to look like. So it gives you an idea as to how it's going to name the layer and what color the line's going to be in AutoCAD, and that's how you basically figure out your CTV conversion. So if you use color 50 for certain things, then you're going to want to come into that certain thing and say, you know what, this is going to be color 50. So it's this is something that you do at the outset of a project, and it might take a little bit of time to get your documents from Revit to look exactly the way your CAD documents do. But if that's something that you value, you do have that control. So this is pretty important if you're dealing with clients that have a very specific standard and things need to be done that way. You set this up once and you can continue to use it. So we just looked at layers, but we can take a look at the lines. You've got different line types here. Any of your hatch patterns can be modified. Any text. So if it's a text font Arial in Revit, you can come in here and change that. So one I believe that people still quite commonly use would be Romanesque. And there you've got maybe a couple different versions of Roman F's. So now I know that once I export this, any of my Arial font is going to go to the font that I need in AutoCAD. You've got index, true colors. If you're doing 3D exports, you can change whether it's polymesh versus an ACIS solid. So you've got a lot of options here, and you can also change your units. So pretty powerful. Okay, so once you've got this set up the way that you want, you say okay, and you choose what views you want, whether you want an entire sheet list or all the views, or if you just want current view. Now, when you do this, you also have some other options. You can say export views on sheets and links as external references, and then you're going to get one DWG with a title block and XREFs and a list of other DWGs that are the XREFs. If you don't want that and you want this all on one DWG, you simply uncheck this and we'll say okay. And it's going to create the export for me. Might take a second or two. And then I probably should have had AutoCAD already lit up for this. But now you can see over here on my desktop, I've got a modern hotel final sheet called whatever I want. And then there's a little Autodesk logo underneath it. So let's take a look here. If I say open and go to my desktop, now it's pretty well set up. I guess the sheet that I've got on this layout right now doesn't really match my title block, but I'm sure I could change that quite quickly. And you'll notice that I've got some viewports here that I can access the same way that I always have in AutoCAD. And if I go into my model space, I've got those 3 views set up here with a very decent layer setup. It's done this nice. I can tell the difference between the annotations and the walls. You're seeing the assembly components of the walls as well. And even if you didn't set up an export setting, you could change this quite quickly just going into your layer manager. Right, so we've got a good amount of layers in here already defined, and you can see it's A for architecture. You've got some annotation layers, I for furniture and I for interior wall, S for columns and foundation. So we're getting the discipline into the layer setup. So that all comes from the export setting, and it all happens pretty quickly because now you can go in and you can modify these accordingly, and you can see the line weights are already set up for a certain CTV file I'm already using. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about these workflows in BIM moving forward, but I hope this kind of clears up some of the reasons as to why go BIM. And if you have any comments, please leave them in the box below, and we'll try to address your questions or concerns as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. Bye now.